The reason I started thinking about college, to be quite honest, was because I wanted to fly. I wanted to be a pilot. I saw the movie Top Gun.
Hey, Top Gun,
yeah,
Tom Cruise, man.
I saw the movie Top Gun.
I love that movie.
And I was like,
it's a
hey.
classic.
So I saw that. I was inspired again, and I'm like, dang, what do I got to do to fly?
Welcome back, everyone, to Always Level Up the podcast. I'm your host, Carlos Garcia, and today I have a special guest, my good friend, Anthony Guajardo. He is a father of two. He is a major in the Air Force. He has a bachelor's degree in international business and a master's degree in international business. And today he's going to share his stories, how he's leveled up in his life from the beginning to where he's at today. So welcome, Anthony.
Hey, thank you, Carlos. I appreciate it, man. It's good to be back to connect with you and catch up on things. So when I first saw this podcast, I was like, oh, man, like it's inspiring stories. And so I hope that my story today inspires other generations to level up, whether you're 6, 5 years old watching this with your parents or, you know, at whatever age you're watching this, like my heart is that you guys get inspired today.
So tell everybody, like, who's Anthony Guajardo?
Yeah, so Anthony Guajardo is a son of immigrated parents from Mexico. I have 2 older brothers and 1 sister. I have 2 boys, a 2-year-old and a 4-year-old, and then my wife Carissa, that I've been married since 2014.
Awesome, love that.
Currently live in Ohio, but I was born and raised in San Antonio. Down in the hood in the west side of San Antonio, and grew up just wanting to be like my older brothers all the time.
Yeah, around what time did you grow up in the west side?
Yeah, so I'm 33 years old. I like to tell people that's around Jesus age, so right around my prime time. No, but
yes, sir.
Went to Thomas Jefferson High School, so right around the Deco district there,
right,
and grew up playing ball around Woodlawn Lake and the Boys and Girls Club.
Yeah, I actually I went to the Boys and Girls Club growing up. It was actually like my safe haven, you know, because I grew up over there, 19th Street, Hamilton, and right in that little area. So I love the Boys and Girls Club. Love that area. My uncle actually lived in the Thomas Jefferson area too. So Monticello Park, that's where it's at. So,
yeah, no, absolutely, bro. I think the Boys and Girls Club for me was a safe haven, as well. Right around around the time of just growing up, one of the first things I remember was seeing our neighbor join the Marines, and I'm like, man, he was talking about being in San Diego and traveling around, and that was like my inspiration as a young kid in sharp uniform. I'm like, man, I want to travel, get out of the hood, see some cool things. Can that happen? And so that was one of my first like inspirations growing up.
Right on. So let's talk about life and as you realize I need to level up. What was the first major level up that you that really sparked the interest that you needed to do something with yourself?
The first time was around high school, right around 10th, 11th grade. I grew up partying a lot and just trying to follow the crowd and
typical
trying to be the jock, right?
Yeah.
Trying to play ball and make varsity and be that guy. And I was really humbled by a certain amount of events where essentially, I got into some trouble with the law and I was told at a young age that I wasn't gonna ever join the military. I wasn't gonna be able to do that I was never going to.
Your life's over, right?
My life's over.
Right? Doesn't that suck?
That's pretty much.
You lose hope. Like, what am I gonna do?
Exactly. So my first level up, although I was inspired as a kid, my first level up was a spiritual level up. Right. So
that's awesome.
I started going to church and listening to songs and words and encouragement. And as I started listening to positive things in my life, that's when I was like, man, I am spiritually lifted. Like there is something bigger in me, and I can achieve things. When I was told that my life was over, there's something greater here, and that was grace.
It gave you hope.
That was grace and hope.
Right.
You said it.
Gave you faith. So you had that event happen. It took place. people told you couldn't do something with your life. So what did you do?
I started believing in the word, you know, in God's word. I started hanging out with positive people, kind of straying away from the party crowd. And to be honest, it felt lonely at that time because there was not a lot of, it was like a rare breed of people doing the good things that they were supposed to do, the right things. And so I started just doing that. I started following and following those examples, and started having the hope to go to college. So, you know, fast forward into my senior year, I'm getting accepted into colleges that I was surprised. You know, there were some miracles happening around that time.
Right on.
And so that was my second level up, you know, from a mental perspective. I got accepted into a college. I'm like, man. And the reason I started thinking about college, to be quite honest, was because I wanted to fly. I wanted to be a pilot. I saw the movie Top Gun.
Hey, Top Gun, Tom Cruise, man.
I saw the movie Top Gun. I
love that movie.
And I was like,
it's a classic.
You seen part 2?
Yeah, it's a great one, man.
It just keeps going. So I saw that. I was inspired again, and I'm like, dang, what do I got to do to fly? Like, can I do that? This dude from the hood, like, yeah, you got to go to college. You got to become an officer. And so I started putting the discipline and started focusing in my grades, dropped the partying, you know, and just really put some hard work into what I needed to do to get accepted into the university and into a prestige Air Force ROTC program like the one at UTSA.
Through faith, right? Through faith and building a relationship with God. Right. You know, it gave you hope to actually pursue this dream, right? That people said was impossible. Right? Absolutely. They're not gonna let you. Who's gonna let you into the military? You got in trouble with the law. Like, who's gonna let you into the military? How are you gonna do that? That's impossible. Nobody does that, right?
Absolutely.
So you think about that and like so you know, what did it take? You know, what did it take? What did you have to do to actually succeed in college? You know, and still like having that doubt in the mind, like, can I do it? Is it gonna happen? Or, you know, was it just walking with blind faith the whole way?
No, that's a good question. I think what it took was remembering where I came from. You know, I said earlier in the beginning that my parents immigrated from Mexico. My dad moved down here not knowing English and really worked hard to put food on the table for us. So what it took was looking back at where I came from and seeing remembering that hard work that he did for us and putting that first building block for me so that I can go to college. And so I didn't take it for granted.
First one in your family to go to college.
Yeah. I was the first one to go to college in my family. The first one out of the boys to graduate high school.
Nice.
And to join the military.
That is awesome. So throughout your college career, you know, how did it go? You know, what was the result of all your efforts? What happened throughout that process?
So ROTC was a strict program. I think the Reserve Officer Training Corps for the Air Force really kept me in line. We had to wake up at least twice a week, Tuesdays and Thursdays at 4:30 in the morning, be at PT by 5:30. And then like we were showering and done with our workout by 7. And then I was already awake, hyped, you know, I had early classes. So it was ROTC who kept me on a strict regiment. I was trying to get on a full ride scholarship. I didn't get a 4-year scholarship. I ended up getting a 3.5.
That's good.
But I needed to ace my fitness scores. I needed to have, you know, above a 3.5, 3.3 GPA to apply for the scholarship. And so it just took discipline and hanging out with the right people, you know, surrounding myself around brothers that would just encourage me. And instead of saying, hey, let's go party, hey, let's go study. And don't get me wrong, I had fun in college, like, you know, had those nights out, but it definitely wasn't on Monday night before I went to PT on Tuesday morning.
Or you're gonna feel that.
Yeah.
That's awesome. Like, you know, I can relate to that a lot. You know, a big thing. You know, it's a common theme in my life and in people's lives who succeed is not only is it discipline, but putting yourself in the right environment with the right people. You know, I think, you know, when you're surrounded by the wrong people, obviously, you know what they say, right? Birds of a feather flock together, right? So,
that's right.
You know, you go down the wrong path, but when you start to put yourself in that learning environment And that's something that I did in college too. It was like, man, I had to be around the people that were going to study, that were going to do the right thing. So it's very, very, influential, and it helps you grow, right? So GPA, what did you end up graduating with?
So it was a 3.3. I think it's the summa cum laude or whatever. I forget those Greek words, but
right.
I was in the honors college. I got into the honors college at UTSA through a friend of mine who's like, hey, to be honest, he's like, hey, they have this diversity, first gen, military Hispanic scholarship. If you get it, you apply, you get into the honors college. And I'm like, all right, didn't think I was gonna get it. I mean, I think the hard work and favor from God paid off, man.
So how did that set you up to join the military, and why did you stick with that dream to join the military?
So once I got on scholarship after my first semester or year, I can't remember, but pretty much like once I got on scholarship for 3.5 years, I rose my right hand. I swore it into the military that if I finished college, I was gonna like go in as an officer. And I mean, so one, the contract kept me in it, but also just remembering the things of the Air Force values, integrity first, living by that, service before self, and excellence in all we do. And so just keeping those things throughout college is what essentially, how I was able to finish off there.
So in the ROTC program, you're learning that.
I'm learning.
And they're preparing you for it.
Yep.
So
exactly.
So at what point, or did it even come up? The background, and what challenges, what hoops did you have to jump through to actually overcome that, if any?
Oh, yeah. No, I mean there was, when I first knock on the door and I'm just like, hey, this is I'm probably walking with a swag and I'm like still talking little hood here and there, and I'm just like, hey, I want to join the Air Force, I want to be a pilot. And they're like, whoa, fill out this paperwork, and you got to list your criminal background and stuff like that, or your whatever you have. And they're like, sir, we don't think you're gonna like be accepted into the program. Like, what do you mean I'm not gonna get accepted? I'm like, I was so passionate about it.
Right.
I didn't take no for an answer.
Right.
And long story short, I ended up rebuttaling that major. At that point. He was the major. I said, no, like, sorry, I want to talk to your boss, which was a colonel, and so, which was the highest one at that point. And she gave me a chance.
Really?
She gave me a chance. She's still there at UTSA, overseeing some of the military affairs stuff, but she gave me a chance. And she said, if you ace pretty much everything, and I had to get letters of recommendation from a pastor, from my varsity basketball coach, from just different areas where I'm like, look, believe in this guy. Like, I am not who the law said I was when I was 10 years old or 11 or 9, whatever, right? I am who I say I am. I'm ready to level up.
Right.
I'm ready to fly and literally level up and be on some airplanes.
Man, that's inspiring. There's this saying I say, and I didn't make this up. I probably heard it from somewhere, but persistence wears down resistance. So you were being persistent. You knew what you wanted. You were committed, and you didn't take no for an answer. And not only did you not take no for an answer, but you were willing to put in the work to do whatever it takes to give you the opportunity, the chance to prove yourself. And I think that's the most inspiring thing that you can do, because a lot of people would have quit. A lot of people would have tapped out, would have gave up. And I think that's just the power of faith. I think that's just the power of believing, that the door will open up if you knock hard enough, right?
Absolutely.
And you keep going, you keep pushing, that it's going to open. And man, you did that. So after getting into the military, you do it, you get accepted.
Yeah.
You get closer to flying the plane. What happened?
Oh man, yeah. So I got flight
into
hours.
Tom Cruise.
Yeah, right. Where are my glasses at? Throw on my shades. I mean, literally, that was I commissioned in 2011, graduated, from honors in business, like you mentioned earlier, and the Air Force is a commission in May, and they said, all right, you're leaving in June.
Right.
pack your bags. You're going to Pensacola, Florida to become a navigator, and then from there you're going to compete to get an aircraft. And I was just solely on the F-15 Strike Eagle, and so you can imagine, if you've seen Top Gun, you can imagine Pensacola, and probably all the military guys that are looking at this are probably like, yeah, I know Pensacola. You go to the beaches, you play volleyball, you throw on your shades, you play football. I lived that life for like 8 months, man.
Sounds awesome.
And it was good while it lasted.
Right.
God had a bigger plan, because if let's just say this, if I didn't make it to where I'm at now and doing business for the Air Force, and we'll get there, I'm sure. I would have not met my amazing, lovely wife. Would have not had my amazing kids that I just cherish every day.
Right on.
I don't know where I would have been. Somewhere flying a Strike Eagle, dropping bombs on bad guys or something. That's cool too, but it's not anything close to what I got today.
So you got to experience, the pilot life, right? You got a little taste of it.
I got a taste of it.
You got a little taste of it.
Yeah.
And then so it sounds like the Air Force started to change you in a different way. Like, what kind of changes did you experience? As far as like from having that desire to want to fly a plane, and to shifting to the business opportunity.
Yeah.
What was that like?
Well, I had to shift back to kind of where I came from, what I had, and like the fact that I was already a graduate of college in the Air Force as an officer, as a second lieutenant. It was like I was grateful. The way it started to change me was just to continue to be grateful for what they were providing. It changed me financially from being able to now be on a in my opinion, a great salary for second lieutenants with medical benefits and things. From a financial perspective, it definitely felt like a level up, because I was able to not just provide for myself, but provide for others, to give. I feel like one of the important things of being able to, if you're thinking like, man, I need.
Yeah.
It's better to give than to receive. And so I remember that just in church or whatever, and I tried to like live by that. And so like I realized like the more I gave to the Air Force, the more I gave to my family, whatever, just the more, whether it's financially, love, time, the more I got back.
Right. Isn't that awesome?
So and that goes with the core value of service before self.
For a lot of people, they don't learn that, and it's tough, right? Because a lot of times people want. They want for themselves, and but in reality, when you give everything that you have to offer, just out of pure love and care to make a difference, you get back 10 times more.
Yeah.
And you get to experience things in a great way. So it seems like you've had that experience and you're going through it. So we talked earlier about legacy of influence.
Yeah.
You want to leave a legacy of influence, and where you're at right now, and what you're doing right now. Talk about that, and then talk about how that inspires you to leave a legacy of influence.
Yeah. So when I think about legacy of influence, I think about making decisions today that are going to make an impact beyond generations to go in the future. So like if it was my great grandsons, I want them to look back and be like, oh, I remember great grandfather Anthony Guajardo set this stone, or you know, and his dad immigrated from Mexico. And so like when I think about legacy influence, I think about like just my nephews, my niece. Now I got 3 nephews that are in the military, and I'm like, man, I like to think that I influenced them because I was the first one, and now, I hope that's true. And then I have a niece, who goes to University of Cincinnati and attends the university and is pursuing her master's in some medical field. So it's just like the influence, is becoming a reality, so to speak. Yeah.
Right on. Yeah. Showing them what's possible and passing that hope down that faith down to them so that they can believe in themselves. They can go after their dreams.
Yeah,
I think
absolutely.
that's awesome.
Yeah.
You mentioned the 3 A's. What are the 3 A's?
Yeah, so I can't take credit for the 3 A's. I stole it from my friend who's in the Air Force as well. But the 3 A's, is the Air Force, academics, and athletics. Right. And so like, it kind of ties with also for the pillars that I try to keep balance in my life, which is physical, spiritual, mental, and social.
Right on.
And so, my wife and I talking, we're like, okay, hey, if we're going to talk about the 3 A's, academics, athletic, or the Air Force, that's something like I would want my kids to pursue at least one of them, and then just with excellence. That's kind of like just how I see it. But more than that, it's like the 4 pillars that I've lived by throughout my Air Force career, the last 11 years, from lieutenant now to what I am today.
Right. And how important is that to have?
I tell people all the time, like the analogy I like to give, it's you think about like your kitchen table and it having 4 chairs.
Right.
So four legs. So one of the legs being your spiritual, the other physical, mental, and social. And so like, if you have that table loaded with food and you remove one of those legs, it's most than likely gonna like start tipping and like dropping everything. And so like when I look at my life, I try to keep that balance. When I realize like, man, I'm like and you don't have to go to church, right? There's different ways to be spiritual, but like when my spiritual life starts to like deteriorate or like I start slacking in that area, I'm like, man, I think about that table and I think about that chair being loose. I go in there, I'm like, man, what screwdriver do I need to grab to tighten these bolts? Yeah, exactly.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
Oh man, I think that's it's really important. I recently had a visit with one of my uncles, and we were sitting down, and he celebrated his 50th anniversary.
Wow.
So been married 50 years, and I was like, that's inspiring, and me and my wife, we've been married for about 14 years, but and I was like, how do you do it? He's like, how do you do it? He's like, look, this is what you have to do. You have to live a God-centered life. Like you got to have God in the center of your relationship. With God in the center of your relationship, which is that spiritual part, it keeps it together. Absolutely. And then you're tying that in with all the other ones. Like, man, I think it's just so necessary, and it's so true. This and the spiritual part is very, very strong. So it's almost like having a leg right in the middle that just in case, right? One of the legs get loose.
Exactly.
So it's just that safety, right? Let's talk a little bit about where you're at right now. What's the current role in the Air Force that you're committed to?
Yeah. So my wife and I have been in Ohio for 18 months with the kids, and we moved there from San Antonio. We were here I was a professor at UTSA for the Air Force, but
you were teaching too?
I was teaching. Man, yeah, I was working out with the cadets and
teaching awesome.
The cadets. Yeah, it was pretty cool being it was a great gig, man. I can't lie. Like it was a great opportunity that I had to come back, because like I said, we had the short stint in Florida, and then I went to San Angelo, did some contracting stuff, business. I switched into actually like doing contracts for the Air Force.
Nice.
Met my wife there. We moved to England like a month after we got married. Lived in near London, Cambridge area for 3 years.
Wow.
Then we come, back home.
That's awesome.
I reconnect with you. We do a couple of workouts and things like that
right
while
on.
we're here.
Yep.
And then now, to your original question is now we're in Ohio, and I'm doing contracting. So you can think of it as specifically foreign military sales for the Air Force.
Nice.
So I buy airplanes, specifically the RQ-4, and we sell them to other countries. I'm trying to be careful what I say here.
We buy and sell airplanes.
Yeah, we buy airplanes. I deal with contractors, big contractors,
That sounds cool.
Yeah.
Yeah, that sounds awesome. I buy and sell houses. You buy and sell airplanes.
Yeah.
I can relate. That's awesome. I get it. You know, I always say there's a business aspect to everything, you know. And I mean, I think that would probably be, if I was going to sell anything else, I think selling airplanes would be pretty awesome. So if I wasn't doing real estate, I think that's probably where I would be. It sounds like you've, you know, pretty much made your dream come true, you know, from the time you were young, and you know, you went through the journey, and you went through the obstacles, you overcame them, challenge after challenge, but you know, but through discipline and through commitment and through a spiritual relationship and faith and hope and all the positive things that kept you going, like you've been able to really, you know, live your dream and travel and have a beautiful family that you have right now that keeps you going. So it seems like you have it all right now, man. It seems like a very big blessing. So yeah, it's so great to hear. So what's next? What's the next level up?
Yeah, so the next level up, man, there's so much on the plate right now. I think the next level up from, so kind of trying to build a second career here and trying to sell houses as well, or get on the real estate level.
Yep.
So from a career perspective, we're going to go back to Europe and do more of the business stuff for the Air Force.
Right.
But before we do that, there's a couple of properties that we have here that, which is part of the reason I'm in for the weekend, is to make sure that those assets, that real estate just continues to grow.
Nice.
So we don't have a lot of houses, but
you're building.
But we're building.
Right.
Yeah.
That's what it starts. It starts there. You know, being able to you know, maintain, you know, your profession, and then, you know, invest in some real estate and let it accumulate slowly, you know, and over time, and through maintenance and maintaining it, and you know, the value of the land will appreciate, you know, and you know, it can be a income producing property. So maybe hold them as Airbnbs. I don't know the strategy, but
yeah,
you know, you have options.
Yeah, no, for sure. You know, I'm glad when we were moving back to Texas and San Antonio, my wife's like, I wanted to live actually around here,
right,
close to the university. She's like, she's a small town girl, I'm a city boy, so she was like, let's go to the country a little bit, like to Bernie. I'm like, what? No. Like, I don't know one good Mexican. There's a couple good Mexican restaurants out there, but
you're close enough.
But she's like, no, the traffic in San Antonio, blah blah blah. And
traffic up to Bernie's not that good though.
No, but I'm glad I listened, because I mean, the appreciation on that first investment.
Oh, yeah.
Like today, we look back and we're just like, man,
that's
honey,
a win.
like, I'm gonna keep listening to you on these house decisions here.
Yeah.
So
you gotta collaborate, man. You gotta put your heads together. You know, that's the best thing.
For sure, teamwork makes the dream work.
That's right. Happy wife, happy life. Right.
That's right.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Awesome. Well, so you know, full circle. You know, life went full circle. Looks like you're continuing to grow, continue to live the dream, and you know, maintain your relationships. You know. And you know, just to wrap it up and sum it up, you know, if you had to give some advice to maybe the younger version of you, or somebody out there that's watching, and you know, what would be the best advice that you can give them to help them grow in their life, wherever they're at?
If the younger version, or just whoever, if you're out there, my advice would just be to you know, love those around you, continue to give, and work hard. You know, put in the hard work, whether it's sweat, blood, and tears. We have a lake house, an Airbnb over here by Canyon Lake, and so we work hard. Whether it's if you're not a social media guy or whatever, and you know you need to you want to be an influencer, then you got to work hard at understanding the social media realm, right? Like, I have no idea about social media myself, but we have to do that if we want to make the Airbnb grow, right? My wife's like, we should start an Instagram and call it the Texan Casita. We have a Texan Casita on Instagram.
I love it.
And we're just like putting videos on there, and it's you can go on there and check it out and make a reservation, and it shows you like from breaking ground to like wild animals you see out there in Canyon Lake. But my point is, like, work hard, get uncomfortable. If you're not uncomfortable, you're not growing. Right. And so there was plenty of times where I was uncomfortable, and I look back and I'm like, man, now I like to challenge myself, because the second thing I would say is don't be scared to fail.
Love that.
You know, I think I'm paraphrasing here, but Michael Jordan says he failed over and over and over again, and that is why he succeeded. Right? And so, like, I embrace failure. I know that I'm not gonna like live in that failure, but I'm gonna look back and grow and take the lessons learned. So number two is, number one, work hard. Number two, you know, don't get scared to fail. Get out of that. And then just three, I think it's just being around family. You know, just loving others, being around family. Don't forget where you come from, and if you remember that, I think, and faith ultimately surrounding all that is what helped me.
Right on. I love that, man. You gotta believe. Man, when you can believe, and you believe in your vision, your dream, and you work hard at it, and you apply the discipline, and you do it without fear or doubt, and you just go, and that's applying faith. Like, man, you're unstoppable. That's awesome. Man, great, man. This is great. I really appreciate you coming in, sharing these stories, man, and I look to, you know, hopefully have you back again in the future.
Yeah, brother. I appreciate it, man. Thank you.